Looking at the 2026 consensus map, the battle for the Senate balance of power comes down to a handful of high-stakes battlegrounds. Republicans enter the cycle holding a narrow advantage in total seats, but several key states across the Midwest, Sun Belt, and New England present tight margins and fascinating candidate dynamics. Remember, if the Senate goes to 50-50, the Republicans will ultimately win since J.D. Vance will be the tiebreaker, the Vice President of the United States of America. First, in Iowa, starting in the Midwest and the Hawkeye State, Iowa features a high-profile matchup between Republican nominee Ashley Hinson and Democrat Josh Truitt. With incumbent Senator Joni Ernst not on the ballot here, Iowa becomes a test of whether Republicans can maintain their solid hold on the state. People often regard Iowa as a strong red state, but it's actually still quite purple. Hinson brings strong name recognition from her time in the House, while Truitt aims to mobilize suburban and swing voters to put Iowa back in play for the Democrats. In Texas, moving down south, it presents one of the most polarized clashes on the map. Republican nominee Ken Paxton takes on Democratic State Representative James Tallarico. Tallarico has been on top of the polls lately, but Paxton brings strong support among conservative-based voters alongside significant media attention, while Tallarico attempts to build a coalition across urban and suburban districts. Though Texas has leaned red in recent Senate races, the contrast in campaign styles make this seat a major focal point for national funding. Over in Michigan, up in the Great Lakes region, the Wolverine state sees a battle for an open seat with a progressive candidate, Abdul El Sayed, running for Democrats against former Congressman Mike Rogers for Republicans. Michigan remains one of the premier swing states in the nation. Roger appeals to the traditional Rust Belt voters and national security conservatives, while El Sayed, recently beating Stevens, focuses on working-class economic messaging and high turnout in urban centers like Detroit and Ann Arbor. Over in Maine, in the Northeast, veteran Republican Senator Susan Collins, the incumbent, faces Democratic State Senator Troy Jackson in Maine. Collins has a long history of ticket-splitting voters, winning re-election even when presidential candidates carry the state for Democrats. Jackson, replacing earlier candidates on the ballot, Graham Plattner, brings a distinct rural labor appeal from northern Maine, setting up a sharp contrast in political styles. Lastly, in Ohio, the special election in Ohio brings a clash between appointed incumbent John Husted and former Senator Sherrod Brown, who brings established statewide name recognition to the state that has trended increasingly red. Ohio politicians, Democratic, hope the turnout in cities like Cleveland, Columbus, and Akron are significantly higher to override the red in the state. Meanwhile, in Alaska, incumbent Republican Dan Sullivan looks to defend his seat under the state's unique open primary and ranked choice system, facing Mary Peltola, which always introduces unpredictable voting dynamics. With razor-thin margins in multiple states, 6 states at play, every candidate pairing across this map could tilt the balance of power in Washington.
Once again, this is AJ Kumaling. Peace out.